we are covering today is Jackie Robinson. He was the first black athlete to cover the major leagues color barrier. So Jackie, how was your life before the big leagues?
Before getting to the MLB, I played for the Kansas City Monarchs in the Negro Leagues. I played well enough that I managed to get a contract with the Dodgers, and I made my MLB debut not long after I signed the contract.
Once I made my debut for the Dodgers, I started getting lots of threats and racist comments from fans and even opposing coaches.
Is there any specific racist event that scared you or your family?
There's one specific event in Philadelphia that scared me and my family. Ben Chapman, the Phillies manager at the time, told the Phillies players to call me names during the game, riling up the Phillies fans and making me feel left out. After my 10 years with the Dodgers, I retired because of health problems. I got inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. After my induction to the Hall of Fame, I felt relieved that my hard work had paid off. I was a six-time All-Star and National League MVP and Rookie of the Year in 1947.
Oh my god, my stomach hurts.
This stomach hurt?
Yeah.
Here, take this.
What is this, Dr. Marquez?
Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol coats and soothes for fast relief when you need it most.
The second athlete we are covering is Althea Gibson. The frontier that Althea Gibson crossed was becoming the first black tennis player to break the tennis color barrier. Althea, let's know a little bit about yourself.
I was born August 29, 1927 in Clarendon County, South Carolina, but spent most of my time around New York. My father was a sharecropper, and he provided for me and my four other siblings during the Great Depression.
So how did it all start? When were you first introduced to tennis?
Growing up, I was never really a huge fan of school, but I really enjoyed playing sports. I enjoyed playing many sports, but ping pong was my favorite. I was pretty good at it too. In 1941, I was introduced to the Harlem River tennis courts and instantly fell in love with tennis. Soon after, I began competing and winning tournaments sponsored by the American Tennis Association, an African-American organization made to promote and sponsor tournaments for black players.
Did you have a specific mentor or coach who helped you get to where you are now?
While I competed at the American Tennis Association, I met Dr. Walter Johnson. He convinced me to become more active in school, and practicing with him helped me acquire a full athletic scholarship to Florida A&M University.
During your career, I'm aware you were confronted with backlash in the tennis community for being African American and for being a woman. Can you describe your experience?
Playing tennis always came with its struggles, and as I got further into the sport, I realized that as a black female, there was always going to be something that restricted me from doing what I loved and competing in the higher ranked competitions in this predominantly white sport.
Althea, can you talk about the breaking point of your career?
It wasn't until 1950 when one of my good friends, Alice Marble, wrote a piece in the American Lawn Tennis magazine about how she believed a player with talent like mine should not be denied the ability to play tennis with other talented players.
And what happened after that, Althea?
Soon after the article went noticed, I became sponsored by the United States Lawn Tennis Association and began competing all over the world. And finally, it all came together when I was the first black player to compete in the US Open and later won the French Open of 1956. Wimbledon titles followed in 1957.
The last athlete we are covering is Earl Lloyd. The frontier that Earl Lloyd crossed was becoming the first black basketball player to break the NBA color barrier. So Earl, tell us a little bit about your early life.
As a child, I grew up in a rural part of Alexandria, Virginia. And when I was a little boy, I always thought about ways to get my family out of the slums. And then one day, I picked up a basketball. And you know, if you were black, it was either off to war to fight for a country that doesn't love you, or working on a farm. And neither of those lifestyles were for me. Then one day I picked up this basketball, and I instantly fell in love. The feeling of the leather on my fingertips, the sound that the ball made when it hit the ground, it was all so beautiful. And you know, I was naturally a lot bigger than a lot of my friends, so the sport just came easy to me.
When would you say that you knew that you were going to play basketball professionally?
In high school, I played on an all-white basketball team, and no matter where we traveled, I did not receive the same treatment as my white teammates. I trained harder than ever, but still never got the recognition I deserved. Honestly, I did not know that I would play basketball professionally, and I almost gave up on my dream. That is until I went to college, where I received many accolades like the Pittsburgh Carrier Award, which is an award for the best high school player in Pittsburgh, for my accomplishments, and even led my team to a 30-0 record.
I know being in the NBA during the 1950s could have been very traumatizing. Can you tell me a little bit about the discrimination you face in the NBA?
I love this question, because contrary to popular belief, I was not discriminated against that much in the NBA, besides being denied entry at hotels, bars, and restaurants. The racism I faced in college was much worse than the racism that I encountered in the NBA. In college, I wasn't even allowed to play in a semifinal college game against Woodford College in South Carolina because the arena was a whites-only arena. I got spat on, asked if I could show the fans my tail, and even told to go back to Africa. I knew I was not supposed to let those things get to me, so I usually ignored them.
Was there anything that happened in your career that made you fear losing your career?
Playing in the NBA, I was drafted into the Korean War in 1951, just 1 year after I got drafted into the NBA. My dreams were almost shattered once again. When I came back to the NBA, I received numerous awards, such as the NIAI Golden Anniversary Team, the 1940s Player of the Decade, and even a championship in 1955.
So Earl, how do you want your legacy to be remembered?
You know, no offense to you, I don't really care if my legacy is remembered as the first black player to ever play in the NBA. However, I do want the young players of today to know that their actions are highly influential and they will be the inspirations of the next generation of hoopers. One time a player said to me, "We owe you." And I said, "No, you don't owe me anything. You owe the people that will come after you."